Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Little Legends Podcast. Ooh, I think I could have went longer, but I heard my voice crack halfway through that. I'm like, ooh, that's not a good way to continue it. I am your host, Blevins. With me, as always, is Boob. What's up, buddy?
It's going good. I'm in my best hideaway hoodie, one that you can pull the strings and hide away from this Earth. A little bummed that we didn't get to see SpaceX launch, but we'll try again on Saturday. Other than that, it's been a good week of games, gaining weight, and finding things on YouTube that I haven't watched yet.
Is that a good thing that you're gaining weight, or a neutral thing?
Absolutely not. Okay. I am at the heaviest I've ever been in my life. Right now, and for some reason I'm okay with it, more so than I should be. I think. I'm just rocketed up from all right, kind of in shape, to dad bod in how long has quarantine been? 67 days.
I've just been way past that for a very long time, so nothing new here. like I mentioned before, my diet hasn't changed at all. My workout regimen hasn't changed at all. What's your guys' excuse? I mean, pay no attention to the fact that I wasn't eating well or exercising well beforehand, but it hasn't changed at all since quarantine.
Yeah, I'm starting to have these crazy thoughts now where since I have just less to, I could be working, of course, but this is still my time. I just sit there and just think about these ideas that will never happen, right? Things about space, or things about what if there are people living in the core and we don't know it yet? It's why am I thinking about that? But
seems pretty unlikely.
Yeah, I know, but that's where I'm at right now. So
nice.
I need to cast, and we're gonna be doing a lot more casting upcoming. So that's gonna be
that's
gonna be good.
Yeah, we'll have more to talk about that on a different episode, I'm sure, but we have a ton to talk about this episode. We're going to be going over both the 10-11 actual patch that's coming up, but more excitingly, at least, we'll be going over the PBE preview for 10-12. We're also going to talk about the Team Liquid qualifier event and sort of the controversy and blunder and whatnot around there. We'll give some thoughts on that. But first, of course, you guys know we are Prediction Esports Podcast, PREDDICTION Esports on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you can find your podcast. Make sure you're following that feed as well as ours, Little Legends. And all of the subscribes and follows and whatnot really do help. Leaving reviews, also very much appreciated and helpful for us. Yeah. Also, guys, another piece of housekeeping. Make sure that if you haven't already, make sure you go back and check out last week's episode. We had Waylon Roselle, aka Riot Magus, on the show. It was a great episode. We only had him for 30 minutes, but it was a action-packed 30. We got some really good insight and info on competitive TFT in the future there and sort of the thought process behind that. So definitely check out that episode as well. And the best place to find all of the links to all of our episodes and pretty much anything to do with us, discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. Best place to be also for game night on Fridays at 9 Eastern. Based on some of our previously alluded to tournament casting, we may need to change up game night or how game night works a little bit coming up, but at least for now, 9 Eastern, Friday nights, discord.me/Little Legends Podcast was where we will be doing game night.
On the World Wide Web.
On the World Wide Web. We will be wacky, waving, wobbling
inflatable arm men.
Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men on discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. We had Mort actually join in for a game last week, so
whenever I'm not there, he always plays when I'm not there. I wonder if I just smell bad or something.
No, I mean, I can't say whether or not you smell bad, but you do. No, I just saw him on. We had a spot open. I pinged him, and he he obliged.
Hell
So
yeah, that's great.
definitely always cool to play some games with Mort. But yeah, definitely check that out again. Discord.me/Legends Podcast. And if you'd like to support us as well, you can go to patreon.com/Legends Podcast as well. So let's talk very briefly about our week in TFT. Boop, anything fun and exciting for you? Any notable games, climbs?
Oh yeah, totally. So I hate playing mages in any game that I play. Like I
Okay.
just don't like playing
Sorcerers, but
mages or
okay.
sorcerers,
Yeah.
wizards,
Yeah. Oh, okay. Just
warlocks.
in
That
general,
like
yeah.
you know,
Magic
yeah, just in
casters.
general. Yeah, exactly. And so I was really proud of myself. I saw that Star Guardians was open in one of my games,
Mm-hmm.
and normally I'd just be like, no. Um, and then I was like, no. After that, and I ended up winning my Star
Nice.
Guardian game. So I was the reason why I wanted to bring it up. It was just like it was so anti what I usually do and my habits. Like I most of the time I would rather just at that point give up and build something like Double Rage Blade Infiltrator on Malphite, right? But this time I went ahead and played what the game gave me. I started off with Leona and Poppy, and then the Star Guardians just came rolling in. It's like I couldn't get rid of them. And I ended up winning. So I was really proud of myself
Nice.
for kind of going against like what I think was quote unquote fun and actually played clean and played the comp and showed that I could play something else that's not cybers.
Nice. I played a cybernetics game and actually had a 3-star Lucian that I just randomly got. I wasn't planning on it. I had a 2-star Lucian and I had a pack and it had 5 Lucians in it. So I bought 5 Lucians.
I mean, you have to.
Right. If a pack has 5 Lucians, or maybe it was 4. It doesn't matter. It was more than 3 Lucians. Like, yeah, I think it was 4 Lucians. It's like I guess I'm going for a tier 3, so I rolled it a little bit more. I got 8th place that game, by the way. I really did. I even had an early echo. Like I just played. I don't know. I played it very poorly. But I actually had been having a lot of success with the Void Brawler, like the 9 bugs Void Brawler build. It's been quite good. I watched Jinx JK's guide on it and was like, oh, I'm just gonna play this the next game I get it, and I get like an early Kha'Zix 2. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm definitely playing it now. Now it's not even gonna punish me for forcing it because I already got most of the bugs. So yeah, that was good. Had a couple other games. I finally, I know this is gonna be lame, but I finally maxed out my Galaxy's Pass, so I'll be ready for the next one when that comes out, which we'll be talking about probably next week. I think is or in one of the upcoming weeks where all the new cosmetic stuff is. But
it's up on the PvE right now, I think.
Oh, I should probably go play it. Okay, end of the episode, guys. We'll talk to you later. No, I'm kidding. I'm certainly going to be playing that because that stuff is going to be fun. But so do we want to talk about the liquid thing or do we want to do 10-11
Let's do
first?
liquid. Let's do liquid 10-11 and then
break. And
how does that sound
10-12
for everybody?
Yeah, guys, just oh right, you're not here with us live. I was waiting for you guys to respond, but you didn't. So yeah, let's talk about the Team Liquid tournament. So basically, oh Boop, you've got. Okay, someone messaged you about it. So why don't you give us a little synopsis of what happened with
All right.
with us?
So I'm pretty unfamiliar with happening in week 1. We I wasn't casting it, so it's like, all right, I guess it's happening without me. No. But basically, in the second week, there was a glitch in the seating system
There's a glitch in the system.
That put all of the highest ranked players together in the first round, and then put all the first place groups in one other lobby for the next round. So the way that it worked was like, I think the low end of when you can get in was gold or something like that. It wasn't like masters, but the first lobbies were all masters filled. And then the second round was all based off of where you landed in your lobby. So all the fourth placers played together. All the third placers played together. All the second placers played together.
Was that how it was supposed to be?
No, it was not supposed to be that way. It was supposed to end up being 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4 for each lobby. And the system was supposed to do that for it. But the way that it worked, the very first round was screwed up
Yeah.
because you had all the best players in the same lobby, which is not good for them or your tournament,
Right.
right? Because well, it's okay to have like a random gold player like show up in the final like somehow, right? Like that's exhilarating, but when it's through the
Mhm.
process of elimination of everyone else who's good,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's not
You
exciting. They
want
have
them
to
to
earn it.
right. You want them to fight through it, not like, oh well, they were the best of the worst, so they're in the end. Yeah.
Okay, and so this is where I think things start getting a little aggravating, or even more aggravating
Right.
for players. So in the middle of the second round, right, which
Mhm.
this is supposed to be for a prize, and TFT tournaments, just like a lot of other tournaments, last all day, right?
Right.
Basically, if you enter a tournament, very few of them end within 2 to 4 hours,
No,
right?
almost
So
never.
this was going to be their whole Saturday, and then because of the seeding problem in the second round, even though there was already one in the first round,
Mhm.
they decided to just call it a bum week and not give a spot in the finals due to the screw up. So all these people who had already spent a couple hours playing in lobbies they never should have been in the first place, right, were then decentivized to continue playing because they're like, well, if you want to keep playing, you can, because it's like for $300 but no spot in the final, right? So a lot of like the
Oh.
top level players decided to just quit
Yeah.
and wait till next week because why are you gonna give your whole Saturday up for a split of $300?
Right. The chance at
Um,
$300.
there is some things there that I definitely want to kind of talk about in terms
Mhm.
of
Oh,
finishing
me
things
too.
out and
Oh,
like
me
not
too.
feeling like it's a little pretentious, some might say, but the idea here is because of all of that a lot of people then went on to Reddit and was like, we're going to boycott Team Liquid tournaments from here on out because they don't care. They don't think that TFT is a viable esport because the TOs screwed us up 2 weeks in a row now. Like they obviously just don't care and are trying to make money off of us, which is something I think you can get, gain out of how this worked, right? But the
I
Team
mean, was
Liquid
there
guy
a
came
tournament
on.
entry fee?
No,
So how are they
but I
making
do
money
believe
off of you?
I do believe that there was like a wait list and stuff. But I think in the end the Team Liquid guy came up and was like, "Oh, the reason why this happened was because there was a glitch in the tournament software, which seeded everyone this way, and that's why to keep competitive integrity, we're gonna cancel this week. But if you want to keep playing it out, you can."
Ugh.
And a lot of like the pros didn't really like that because they're there for the final spot, so why be there
Right.
for something else? But yeah, I think that's a summary. We can't really spend too much time on this,
Yeah.
but we thought it was a good idea to kind of go over it because people were pissed, man.
Yeah.
Like there were like 6 or 7 posts on the competitive TFT Reddit that was like, this is gonna be bad for TFT for months to come. And when big orgs try to
Yeah.
do this, they gotta make it right, or else other big orgs won't do it. And there is like a sense of truth to that. But after that summary, Bleb, before I get into my pontification,
Yeah.
what's your feeling on it?
Okay, so I can put my having been a tournament level MTG player hat on, which I have on all the time, but I can put that on and say this would have been an awful experience. And I've had not quite that level of experience with tournament organizers for MTG before, but like similarly bad things where like tournament organizers will like basically when you sign up for a tournament, you want that tournament to abide by the preset rules that were described to you at the beginning. Anything that changes in between that is not just a net positive for everyone is for all intents and purposes unacceptable. So if I join this tournament, I plan, I take my Saturday off or whatever. I've blocked out my Saturday. I'm playing this event for this qualifier. If after round 2 they're like, "Oh, JK, this isn't going to count. You guys can
Doesn't
still play
count.
for the prize money, but like the invite's not there." That's unacceptable. They should have just said, "Hey, we messed it up and like done the best to remedy it in future rounds, but you cannot say hey guys, just kidding. This was a fake week. We'll still give out the $300, which is like, I mean, $300 is $300, but like you said, the pro players, they don't care. I've done qualifier level events in Magic before, where there's, you know, maybe hundreds or like a couple $100 of prize, like, funds there, like either product or whatever, and then an invite or a, you know, 3 buys to a bigger event.
Or like how Hearthstone did with Tavern Heroes.
Yeah, exactly. A qualification.
Mm-hmm.
Most people that are grinders and like competitive level players, I don't care about winning 3 boxes of Magic the Gathering cards when I'm in that position, which is like $300 or $400 or whatever. I want the qualification. I don't care about that. Like a lot of times, you know, there will be some sort of, they'll do a prize split and just play for, you know, they'll split the prizes. Like, we don't care about this, so let's just split our prizes here and then just play for the qualification. Or like, hey, do you actually want, I mean, this is kind of against the rules, but like, actually, I don't know. And I also don't care about the official rules of Magic anymore either. But people will go, oh, hey, do you actually want the qualification or do you want the prizes? Like, I'll give you all of the prizes. Just concede. I'll give you all of the prizes. I just want the qualification. That's a thing that is at least discussed. And I've done that before. I don't care if the DCI retroactively bans me. I couldn't care less. So the money is irrelevant. If it were $10,000 or something, okay, all of a sudden that's something to talk about. But the qualification is the prize. The money is whatever. They need it. They should have just run it, tried to remedy it. If they had to do it by hand, that sucks. But guess what? You do it. It's not, you know, it's not ideal at all, but you need to run that through. But people saying, well, to finish the thought, like people boycotting Team Liquid, I'm actually not necessarily against that, because like I mean, the problem. So here's the problem: Team Liquid and Cloud9, they're the only ones running this event. They're the only ones that have authorization to run it, and they're the only ones that have the qualification for a tournament like that. You have to, right? Like, you can't if you want to play in a qualifier, you can't really boycott these events. But I've certainly boycotted certain tournament organizers because they just run crappy events and they don't do it well. I wouldn't say that Team Liquid doesn't care. I would just say that the staff they had on was unprepared and did a poor job of managing the tournament.
Yeah, you know, and instead of being like, okay, well, okay, this just doesn't count, right? I think the biggest thing that TOs and sometimes these bigger companies don't understand is these are people who are passionate, right? And when you're
Yeah.
talking about people's passions and then just being like, ah, JK, I know that's not what they did, but that's probably how a lot of the players felt, right? When they're like, we made a mistake, now all of you suffer for it,
Yeah.
right? It is effed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're like, oh, it's a computer glitch and it might have, that just doesn't feel good enough
It
in
doesn't
terms of
matter.
like an apology, right? So I
Oh,
think if worse comes to worse, right? You give whoever the winner is this place in the final, just add an extra week, right? That's still not like the best, right? But there are people who did play and deserve an opportunity for it. So instead of canceling it for everybody and just washing it for a week and wasting literally hundreds of people's days. This is
yeah.
one of the biggest tournaments out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not like this is a nobody, no nothing thing. Like there was
Right.
100-person, 200-person long wait list to get into
Mm-hmm.
this tournament,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your Team Liquid of Liquipedia fame, more than that, but
Right.
like Team Liquid is one of the few esports orgs out there that people who don't play games might know,
Right.
right? And so you're coming in with a set of expectations that things are probably going to be okay. Like there isn't a world where Giant Slayer should be putting on tournaments so much cleaner and better than an org like Team Liquid in terms of resources and stuff like
Right.
that, right? But the fact that everyone at Giant Slayer is doing it better, there hasn't really been anything that I've seen from Giant Slayer in terms of complaints on their tournaments.
Nope.
Like we've worked with them, it's been good,
Oh yeah.
right? Like the fact that an organization like Team Liquid had this much trouble for 2 weeks in a row is inexcusable for me. And what the organizer needs to understand that it's not just a tournament for them. It might just be another tournament to run for you, but in TFT with our lack of opportunities currently with the world system not in place just yet,
Yeah.
right? with the complete and utter lack of opportunity to innovate for competitive outside of Giant Slayer, right? This was really exciting for people, and for you to say it was a computer glitch, GG's, next week we'll be okay, right? Eventually, it's just kind of like you're just disrespecting me as a person.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you're not interested in the same game as me, that you didn't take this as seriously. But I think that goes into a broader scope of who runs these tournaments. And this is going to be my final point. So I have been a part of very good, very well run tournaments, from Blizzard all the way down to ho hum 3 people things that run really well. Right. And I've come into contact with what I believe to be very similar to the TO of this Liquid event. Someone who is there for a paycheck, doesn't necessarily like the game that they're TOing, and kind of just checks out until it's over, right? They'll answer questions when needed, but not unless they need to. Right. And I think that this was pretty similar to that. Either this person was overwhelmed or just didn't care until it was too late, right? Because the first round never should have started with those lobbies. Right. And it's hard, and if you're going to put on a tournament of hundreds of people and you have 1 or 2 TOs, like, that's not okay either, right?
True.
And basically, the TO is an important job, and I have only worked with a couple orgs that consider that an important job. Your TO is going to help you run your org. Your TO is dealing with your players, your tournament, your rules, your everything, right? And when that person doesn't care, the tournament's just going to suck.
Yep.
Right. You're not going to get any communication. All communication, if you do get it, it's going to be late. Right. And that's the thing, is we're here. We're trying our best.
Yep.
Right. And the only expectation I have is for you to do the same. Right. You're still getting paid. This is your job.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't care about the computer glitch. I don't care about any of that other stuff. What I do care about is these players in the TFT community feeling valued. And unfortunately, outside of certain orgs, I don't think they are. And the Team Liquid thing just kind of piled on top of that, right? That, like, we're not being seen, we're not being taken seriously, right?
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah, I think it's either that 100%, like they just didn't care, or just like it doesn't matter whether they cared or not. They made the wrong decision. They made an objectively bad decision. And like they handled it poorly. The care behind it is adds on top of that. If they were like, oh well, we really wanted to do this, but this is the decision we made, and even if they gave, like, their reasons for it, it would still be the wrong decision, and I would still be grilling them. Because I don't want to say a dumb decision, but from my vantage point, like if I played in this tournament, I would say this was a dumb decision, and the person who ran this tournament made it a very bad and poorly thought out decision based on what I know.
Luck,
and
right?
Now it's
and
a
that's horrible the thing about
look
working,
for.
That's the thing about working with orgs, right? You might not be wanting this person to represent your org, but that's what happens when you put this person in charge, right? I was recently working with a TO that was like using profanity, couldn't spell anything in like our stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm out. Right, this isn't going to go well, right? And in this group, I'm never going to work with again because of this one person, right? And you have to make sure that you're not giving people jobs that they're not ready for, right? And this became a thing where I don't think it needed to, especially since it was the second week of challenges. And again, it's just like TFT players aren't Mario Kart players, right? They're not casual gamers. These guys are trying to make something happen with their lives in this game that they love, just like your Valorant or Overwatch players. And just because we're not as mechanically intensive as them doesn't make us any less important. And I think that kind of like hierarchy of games is like pervasive in people who do run tournaments. Based off of, if I like the game, it'll be run really well. If I think it's boring, then we're gonna suffer, right? And that's just something that needs to be fixed. And we'll never reach the point in esports that we need to if those people still get jobs, because there are other people who are really, really freaking good at it that don't get those opportunities because they don't know the right people, right? And that's the thing that really frustrates me too, is they could have just hired literally anybody from Giant Slayer. They could have hired Bemi. They could have hired, even one of us, right?
I was going to say, the last point I want to make is if Team Liquid or Cloud9 are looking for TFT tournament consultants, we have a deck for that.
We legitimately
this one actually isn't a joke. We actually do have a deck for that.
Like a really good deck. Thanks, Mushu. But yeah, that's to put a bow in it.
Or to put a
We just
nail
want
in
to
it,
be
rather. This
yeah, yeah, yeah,
one's
yeah.
not a bow.
We want to be seen, right? We're here. We're we're gamers too, right? It might
Yeah.
be TFT, but it is still Team Liquid, and I just expect more out of them as an org in general, right? As I would
Yeah.
with Cloud9 or Evil Geniuses or FaZe or Dignitas, right? Same thing
I don't know if
across
I
that whole
expect that
board.
out of FaZe, honestly. I think FaZe probably would blunder their event, too. I don't know why I'm throwing shade at FaZe. FaZe, if you're looking for partners, I have a deck for that. No, I just think, like, it's such a... That's just the type of thing that, like, it kind of almost makes logical sense of, like, well, this, you know what? We messed up. Sorry, guys. We'll still give out the prize money. Don't worry about that. It's like, that's such a, like, you've never played in a tournament at this level and you don't understand. It's such a, like, it's such a, just like, you don't get it type of thing. So that's where it's kind of a disconnect
and
for me.
that and that's I think the core of what I feel,
Yeah.
right? Is like, oh, Jesus
Just
Christ.
the
Anyway.
classic only said in the movies line that you just don't get it, do you?
Well, I mean, like, you got all these players to sign up for this tournament. It's like going to an amusement park, right? You get there and it starts raining, right? And you can't ride any of the rides.
Well,
you're so excited,
yeah,
and then you get there,
except that
and then
they
not
caused
only,
the rain, and they could be like, okay,
and are not giving you a refund.
well, they're like, oh, come back next week, even though you took this week off, and also we could, like, waterproof the ride so you could ride them, but it's not perfect, so don't do it. That's kind of the analogy.
There it is. That's
yeah, a little bit. But enough of that. Yeah, there's hopefully we don't have to keep talking about this level of blunder moving forward. But again, shoot us an email, littlelegendspodcast@gmail.com, if you want to talk about running an event. Okay. We're gonna cruise through these 10, 11 notes because again, I hate to call it a lame duck patch, but it's kind of what it is.
God. Well, I think none of the damage changes are like more than 25.
Yeah, it's not
like, yeah, a lot of the changes are very small and needed
for obvious reasons. So let's jump into these like we always do and read the little beginning. Hello, captains. First and foremost, this is the last patch before the Galaxy's mid-set update, which we'll be talking about in a bit. This means that the next 2 weeks will be your last opportunity to earn your final rank before the reset and get those last few rewards in the Galaxy Pass. I finally did. On the balance front, you'll notice the changes are relatively small since we didn't want to give you anything too crazy to master before the next big patch. Chief among these changes are nerfs to the Tier 1 trio Caitlyn, Graves, and Xayah. We're also taking a little off the top from the perennial contender Kayle and every auto attacker's favorite tank buster, Last Whisper. There's also a new littler Legends Galaxy where you'll start with 15% less life. Let's get into it. So, as mentioned, the little Legends Galaxy is what it's officially called. You start with
Littler Legends.
No, it's called the official name for it is Little Legends. Littler Legends
I know,
was just
I'm saying Littler Legends.
Littler Legends.
Littler.
The Little Legends Galaxy.
That wasn't actually a voice modification. That
It's
was just
lit.
me doing it. It's lit.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, anyway.
You start with 85 health instead of 100. Initial thoughts on this Galaxy, Boo?
We'll see how it goes because it'll be great on mobile.
Yeah.
In terms of game speed. But loose streaking is just like not an option.
No.
I guess if you did it really, really well, you could do it. And since the games are over faster, I doubt that we're gonna get a ton of like 4-star, like tier 4 3-star units like we have recently. I don't know. What about you?
So my thought is like this is in my category of like I don't really care, but it's not super exciting. Like you're not like even like Lilac Nebula, which a lot of people hate. I like that one, and even Medium Legends I like, and I like it more than this one because this is just like okay, the game's shorter. What does that mean? It means I guess a few things, but it's not enabling anything cooler. I don't think it's just like you're kind of scuffed, and like you're gonna do better with scuffed comps, which I think is a cool thing in general, but it's not in the moment of your game. You're like, oh, I'm winning with this like almost no synergies comp where I just have a bunch of 2-star units. That's fun. It's not really that fun in the game, right? So
Yes.
I think it's all right. What I'm excited about this for is, or actually ties into what you said, Boop, and it's like kind of like associated with mobile. Like, what if this is just a test for like
That's
another
what I was
game mode of like,
thinking. That's what
what if
I
it's like
saw.
50 health or something for a mobile game? I don't know. Um, but yeah,
I
so,
think just in the end, like aggressively rolling might work here, getting really strong tier 1 units. But in the end, I think in terms of strategy, it's just a quick sprint versus like the 800-meter dash,
yeah,
which is what I feel like regular TFT is, like that
Mhm.
awkward like. For some reason, none of the 800 people run any other events,
Right.
right?
You have
But
to be good at
and then like
specifically that distance.
and then the medium legends is like the cross country people.
Yeah.
So we'll see, because like people might like just the faster game in general. Like
Mm-hmm.
improvement doesn't necessarily have to be mechanical, even though this
Right.
technically is a mechanical improvement, but they don't have to be visual either, right?
Right.
So we'll see if just like we like having these shorter games, if
Mm-hmm.
like we need to make it to those 3-star,
Right.
tier 3 4 cost units, right? Is
Yeah.
that what's fun? And I think Littler Legends will give us a lot of info on that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that logistically and like UI UX wise, like you would want to keep the health at the number 100. But if you can take what 100 is today and make it what Little Legends is today, and like shift things down to make that like either game length or game feel, maybe that's a good thing. So hopefully, I'm assuming that there's some of that behind the scenes of like, oh, we want to see how people react to having 15% less health. So we'll see. They also updated the Galaxy odds. So Littler Legends is going to be in 12.5% of games. Galactic Armory 10. Nicoverse, Lilac Nebula, Medium, Super Dense, Trade Sector, Treasure Trove, and Star Cluster are all 7.5, and normal games are going to be happening 1/4 or 25% of the game. So we're at 75% Galaxy, 25% normal. So it's almost, we're getting to the point where it's like normal game is its own galaxy.
Normal Galaxy,
Yeah,
yay.
which is the most boring one.
I disagree with that, actually.
You might be right.
I think that
It's not boring. It's just like I would rather have a galaxy most times for me.
I think the item galaxies, the one where you get 2 items, is the most boring.
Oh,
And I like the
well,
regular normal one.
I finally got the Galactic Armory, and my opening carousel was a full item carousel. So I actually
Oh my
started
God.
with 3 items. That
Okay,
was a
that
fun
makes it
one.
fun.
I think actually, JK, that was the same game that I went Cybernetics and got the tier 3 Lucian and got 8th place, but it was still fun. Yeah. So quickly do some trait changes. So Chrono got a small adjustment here. It is going from 8.42 seconds to 8.3.5, 1.5 seconds. So 4 and 6 Chrono getting a small buff to the intervals at which the attack speed increase is. And then Infiltrator now always jump at the beginning of combat rather than with a slight delay. So you can maybe bait the Infiltrators with like a tank or something a little bit easier, because Infiltrators are going to immediately jump onto whatever you have in the backline rather than like letting like a bait unit move forward and then having them jump. So small changes.
Small.
Boop, you want to talk about these champions?
Sure. All right. Caitlyn, ace in the hole damage is going to be nerfed at the tier 3. Grave Smoke Grenade blind duration is moving from 3.45 to 2.35. Thank God. Have you seen these Graves builds where it's just constantly blinding?
No, I haven't.
So I faced a tier 3 Graves with 2 Seraphs on it, and in my mind I was like, why are you wasting those items? And then my units could not attack.
Yeah.
And it was really, really good like in the mid game. I ended up beating this guy at the end, but like, man, was that annoying. Anyway, Jarvan Ageless Standard, like me. Attack speed boost is 50, 75, 100, going to 60, 75, 85. that opens up AP Jarvan. I'm just saying. Cosmic spell damage is 200, 275, 500 to 200, 275, 400, 100 damage nerf on tier 3. And then Zaya mana is going from 050 to 070. So that first and all subsequent ultimates will be going a lot slower.
Yep.
Tier 2 champions. Blitzcrank Rocket grab damage is 250, 400, 900 to 200, 350, 850. I think that's good. Not quite sure he needs to one-shot everyone he pulls. Lucian Relentless Pursuit damage is 150, 200, 325, going to 150, 200, 375. Maybe you got last because it wasn't this patch. Tier 3 champions is Master Yi attack speed moving from 0.8 to 0.85. Tier 4 champions, Cho'Gath starting / total mana 50, 150 to 75, 150.
Ooh.
Mikhail total mana going from 60 to 70. So small changes.
Yeah.
Cho'Gath getting buffed is nice for your little squid boys. That's a gross sentence. Your little squid boys. Anyway, yeah, and I like the Blitzcrank change. Just like because you have a Blitzcrank means that you get a kill is not necessarily what you want.
Yeah,
but that is a slight nerf to Jinx.
Yep.
As well, because a lot of times you use Blitzcrank to pull Jinx. But other than that, not a ton of changes. The Shredder / Pikachu comp is going to be neutered quite a bit.
Yeah.
From the Zaya mana nerf.
Zaya mana nerf, Caitlyn level 3 nerf, Jarvan level 3 nerf, all are going to be pretty big changes there for that. So I think like what's going to happen is people are probably not going to play it. Because it's not going to be as strong, but it's probably still good. The problem is, again, there's 2 weeks to play this, and if people aren't playing it immediately, like I think that build finding its legs again would take longer than that potentially. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be close. So I think it'll still be playable, but it's not as good. So I think you're going to really need to finesse being able to play it rather than forcing it all the time, which is I think a good place for a hyper roll composition like that. Like you need to know the scenarios where it's correct to do that. So I think those are good. Blitzcrank is a little weird. Like you said, it is an indirect nerf to Jinx. It's kind of a nerf to the like brawler based comps, but like it's such a weird spot to do that. I don't know. I didn't ever really see Blitzcrank as the problem. But I do like his at least level 1 damage being nerfed because early, like that's a big amount of damage. Like that's killing a unit early.
Yeah, and he should be more about the pool than the damage.
Exactly.
Right? So it helps his fantasy a little bit because I was noticing that like when I was getting Blitzcrank early, I was like, these fights are pretty easy.
Yeah.
Because there's less counterplay early on too when it comes to Blitzcrank positioning.
Yeah.
So your carries are going to be a lot more vulnerable. You might even get 2 pools off.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Lucian tier 3 damage. I mean, maybe this makes tier 3 Lucian an actual thing you can roll for. And a lot of these, I think, are setting up for 10-12, which we'll talk about after the break. But like maybe there's now a like hyper roll cybernetics comp that can come about with Lucian as a tier 3. Not in this patch, I don't think. I don't think this will affect this patch much at all. Master Yi gets a whopping 0.05 attack speed buff. I mean, it's good for him, but don't think it makes much difference. Cho'Gath's mana is obviously really good because now you don't necessarily like he's not useless without a Guardian Angel now. Like he might actually get that first cast off. He's usually like 1 or 2 attacks away from getting it. It seems like if he gets focused down, so maybe just a raw Cho'Gath will actually get an ult off, which is nice. And then Kale's, the big lady on campus, and I don't know if the 10 mana is going to change that too much because she's still like popping off. And now like it might be more reasonable to run something like a static shiv or something else that will actually like give her that extra mana at the beginning. So definitely interesting changes. And then the other change here is Last Whispers going from 90% armor reduction down to 75% armor reduction, which is like good. Now the item's not like an absolute necessity to counter these Vanguard comps, and like every single attack damage based build wants one. So it's I think it's a reasonable item, not just like an auto. Oh, absolutely need this. So overall, I think a good patch. Again, sort of a lame duck patch. I mean, literally, Cho'Gath and Kale are getting removed from the game in 10-12. So like, those changes are like whatever, But I don't know. I think a solid patch that will address a few things in this current meta, but overall, it's fine. I don't think it's going to change too much. But
I agree.
Things that will change a lot are patch 10-12, which we will talk about right after this break. There's no shortage of action going on at our exclusive partner, BetOnline. NASCAR is back, and BetOnline has hundreds of other games, events, and sports to get in on. You can still bet on simulated NFL, NBA, and UFC events 24/7. Or you can participate in our $10,000 Madden Bracket Challenge, a March Madness-style NFL simulation tournament you can enter for free. And live right now on BetOnline's YouTube channel, you can find an exclusive interview with ex-Chicago Bulls Ron Harper, Horace Grant, Bill Cartwright, and Craig Hodges to discuss the Michael Jordan documentary and what they're calling the Final Dance. Visit betonline.ag and use promo code BLUEWIRE to receive your new welcome bonus and check out all of the action. BetOnline, your online wagering solution. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the break. We are going to dive deep into patch 10-12, the TFT Galaxies mid-set update. We've got, this is what they're calling the Dev Drop, which has been co-authored by Mort, Whitrock, and Lord Llama. Who I'm not actually sure who that is. That's an interesting name. Maybe we should look into who that is. I'm thinking out loud here.
You're like the dad waiting for your daughter's date to show up at prom, right? With like your rifle in one hand. So yeah.
What do you?
Who are you? What do you do with my daughter?
What's your father do for a living? I'm kidding. If I ever became a dad, I would be Tony Soprano. In that I'm going to get killed in the last episode. Spoilers. Also, that's not what happens. Okay, so the TLD, this G Fuel's hitting different. I haven't had G Fuel in a while, and it's like it's acting as a little bit of a psychedelic. Today's episode brought to you by G Fuel, by the way. Not really. Okay, so the TLDR for this Galaxy's mid-set update. All Valkyries and Voids out. Sona, Kassadin, Lux also out. New champions, Zed, Vayne, Riven, and Janna. New traits, who will have their own champions, Astros and Battlecast. Total of 14 new champions and a whole spaceship load of smaller changes to current items, champions, and systems. If you want to see Mort and Whitrock's sort of explanation where they went through every little detail, Mort posted a video on his channel, so definitely check that out. How do I ban a person from chat? Boom. Okay. So, Boop, you want to talk about who's leaving?
Yeah, let's talk about who's leaving, because if you're a Valkyrie player, like a lot of us are, putting them into our comps, it's going to be pretty hard. So
yeah, impossible even.
Yeah, Void is gone, so your little squid boys are Kha'Zix, Cho'Gath, and Vel'Koz. They're gone. Yeah. Valkyrie, gone. Kaisa, Kale, Misfortune, gone. Sona, you're out of here. Kassadin, you're following Sona. Lux, that was the surprising one for me, especially since like that crazy Lux skin came out like to celebrate Galaxies. Mm-hmm. But basically, like, she's a 3-cost sorceress, and a lot of people fit that archetype, and that's why she's leaving. So Lux, as a 2-piece partner with Xerath and 2 separate traits, just was too strong. So they're going to go ahead and take her out too. I think the biggest thing here is I'm glad Sona's gone. I have no idea why she had CC cleanse in the first place.
That was a weird one.
Well, I think there's just, now that I think about it, there's so much CC in the game that they thought maybe they needed to have someone like Sona in there to counter that. Not having Kha'Zix these guys are all going to be replaced with similar units that we'll talk about a little later. But no Void, I think, is like a really big thing. I never liked the fact that they just gave you true damage, which kind of limited counterplay when it came to items against them, and I just don't like that archetype, so I'm happy about it. Same thing with Valkyrie. Anything that kind of gives you like just free damage, right? Where Valkyrie is just, all right, you have 2 of these, so now you crit below this amount of health. Right? Versus like same thing with Void. Oh, you have 3 of these? Well, congratulations. You have true damage.
It just felt like you turn this on and then it's on, but you like it's not even like, so like to compare it to like, you know, Light from set 2 or even like Darkstar in this set, it's like, yes, you have all you know, you have 6 Darkstar or whatever and that ability's on, but it's like things need to happen to do that. It's like a unit dies, a Darkstar unit dies, and then all of them get pumped. And Light was the same way. This is just like, oh, Valkyrie's on. It's like, do you ever even notice that it's on? Obviously, you're doing more damage, but like, is there ever like a, you know, it didn't really feel like it clicked as a trait. It was just like, and I feel like we've talked about this. It's just like you're just adding numbers to things, and that's like good in terms of winning, but it's just boring.
So
right?
in regular League, there was a pretty big issue when it came to a type of champion called stat stickers. Which are like Dr. Mundo is one of those where just eventually the numbers are unbeatable.
Right.
And that's just not very interactive. That it seems like an archaic way of design. But sometimes it's good to have those kinds of statistic champions in your game, right? It's really good for beginner players, and that like a beginner can take, oh, okay, I could take just these 3, put them together and get something out of it, right? That's good when it comes to that. But in the general landscape of the competitive ecosystem, the more interaction I get with my traits, the better. And I think Valkyrie and Void are the least interactive of them.
Yeah, and I also think that like to harken back to new players, it's like if you have a Kaisa out and you're a new player and it's like, oh well, do I itemize my Kaisa to be a carry? Well, we know as at least relatively seasoned players, yes, you can. You can get a tier 3 Kaisa and you can itemize it out. It's like, okay, well, is it worth cutting one of my other traits to run Valkyrie? Well, it depends. And it's not like, it's like if you are adding in, again, we'll use I'll use Light from set 2 as an example. It's like you always, if you're running Vayne, like yes, you can itemize your Vayne to be a carry from set 2. But it's like you would never question, oh, do I want 3 Light in? It's like, yes, if you're running Vayne as a carry, you want Light. That like enables it. It's like very obvious that Light is giving you a bonus. You know, there's the, even if it's just a visual thing, it's like the unit dies, you grant the health, you're attacking faster. You can see that. With Valkyrie, it's like when you added when you added in Valkyrie, it doesn't proc at the beginning because they have to be under half health, and it's like it's hard to tell. And if I'm a new player, I don't know. Is it worth putting in Valkyrie? It's like, yeah, I just want to make the trait, but like, is it always worth it to do? Is it like, am I noticing the change? I would say no a lot of the time. So not that those are bad things, just things to think about. Like, you know, and Void is in a similar case, although Void at least had the cool, like purple, you know, like lightning around them, which looked really cool. But it's just like, do I know that Void is really doing anything as a new player?
Well,
or a newer
I think
player?
the game has a general readability problem, right? Where some things are very obvious and some things aren't. And,
Yeah,
and
that's
all
true.
games do, but I think like that's the thing with Void and Valkyrie more so than just like its individual look is that it doesn't help the fantasy in any way. It was again just stats in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Void is something that felt like it was like tacked on a little bit to this set.
A little bit.
More so than all the other, like, because all the other traits seem very thought out, right? At least to me,
Yeah.
right? Like Chrono, right? Or a Rebel is another really good example of that. Demo,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like all those things just seem like really well thought out. And at the beginning, I think I actually said this. I was like, it kind of just felt like they needed another trait.
Right.
So they're like voids.
Well,
Of course, that's not what happened. And I'm like, cutting a lot of work. Like I'm being mean. But my intent here is to say that Voids never really felt like they belonged in this set to me. The Valkyries did because of just like again like the whole thematics of galaxies, and while Voids
Yeah.
kind of look like they're spacey,
Space alien.
Kha'Zix,
Yeah.
yeah, Kha'Zix and Cho'Gath really don't to me.
Yeah.
Vel'Koz was like the most, and so in terms of even that, I'm glad they're not here. Let
Yeah.
alone the fact that I don't like the true damage thing.
Well, I think like if it was called like if instead of it being Void and it being essentially a copy from set 1, if it was called like Alien or something and it did something wackier, that would have been cool, and I think you could keep it because like it pretty much like Void, we had 4 Void units in set 1 if I recall correctly. It was the 3, right? It was the 3 original: Kassadin, Kha'Zix, Cho'Gath, and then Kaisa was a later addition. You start adding more than that and it starts getting broken, or it starts like you always want Void and it's very easy to always get it and it fits into too many things. So like they didn't add any Void units at all throughout the first the first half, or the first I forget what they're calling it, the first half of the set. So they could have, though, if it were something else. And like I think that the like, you know, space monstery alien, like that type of thing is cool. Like I like to see more stuff like that, monsters, but I know that's an unpopular in general. Like people like the humanoid characters better in general. But
Well,
I
yeah,
like the
that's very, very
monsters.
interesting how like in a world like, for example, even in D&D, right, where you can be literally anything. Not anything, but you can
Mhm.
be a tiefling, you can be a tabaxi cat, right? And even
Mhm.
in Skyrim, we got Khajiit.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will still just choose to be human,
Yeah, that's like
right?
the most
Like,
boring thing for me.
and like me too, but then you kind of think about it and you're like, strategically, well, humans are common and blah blah blah. But it's just
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It mostly comes down to the true damage thing. I'm glad that's out.
Yeah.
And I don't like the, like, think about how much more effort you have to put into Rebels than you do for your 2 Valkyries,
Right.
right?
True.
And I think like a really good way to kind of get a 2-person synergy going, I think Mana Reavers killed it in that sense,
Yes.
right? Where it was affecting who they were attacking. You could have 2, maybe 3 if you pushed a third one and you had like the space, right? But I think
Mhm.
that's a really great way of, all right, you got 2 of these, you get this thing, but they still have to interact with their
Yep.
opponents.
Yep.
Right? And it's not gonna mean everyone. Like when you give someone like Cho'Gath true damage, that's dangerous.
Mhm.
Right? I'm much more willing to accept Irelia auto attacking me and taking my mana away,
Right.
as that's like position oriented
Mhm.
and again a lot more interactivity. So I like that, even though I thought I wouldn't because I hate when mana is messed with.
Right.
Um,
It didn't feel as
but
bad as demons did in the first set.
yeah, and I think Void could be there, right? But as like a 4 trait, or with more options, because like they did just buff Cho'Gath.
Right.
Right? So, like, it still isn't even doing what they wanted it to do, even with the true damage. So it's time for a change.
Yep. I agree. I don't disagree with removing either of those, and I think it's good for the game overall. But take something away, Boop. You got to add some stuff in. So we got some new champions in existing traits. So they said they're also adding a few champions to round out existing traits and to make certain team comps more interesting to run. This includes adding new cybernetics so you don't have to rely on hitting a legendary to hit the gold badge, a new blade master who can use AP items, and a new rebel who doesn't have to stick with the group. So, the very first...
This is one of the first times that we have here where, how long have I been asking for like an AP item oriented AD champion? Like a while. I tried with Jarvan, right? With the double death cap Jarvan for attack speed. Right? So I'm very excited for this, and I'm very excited for this. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in there real quick to say how smart I was.
So 1 point for Boop for designing the mid-set update. I have a feeling there's going to be more points as well that you'll be taking. Vayne is in the set now and is a tier 3 cybernetic sniper. They have final hour. Vayne focuses for 10 seconds, tumbling away from her target immediately and every third attack thereafter. Vayne is invisible while tumbling, and her first attack after each tumble deals 180, 200, 240% of her attack damage. And the note here is that Vayne gives Cybernetic the options it needs. It gives it the options it needs to get to get 6 without needing to luck into Echo. She also serves as a powerful tier 3 carry who usually doesn't actually need a defensive item because her spell drops aggro. She should serve as a powerful AD carry, especially with the Cybernetic and Sniper trait active. Feels a lot like set 1 Kaisa in a lot of ways.
So I've been excited to talk about this particular champ more so than anything else because of this line. Tumbling away from her target immediately. So what that means is I don't think that you're not going to put Vayne in your backline, even as a sniper, because she'll get there eventually. And so the other thing about it too is she becomes invisible, and something that I'm so happy that they're using in this, right? Like I did just like try to score a point for myself, but this is really cool. This is all of them, no help from me. But the fact that you're invisible and you tumble away, she's going to be a massive tank shredder. And I think that's going to be really exciting because it's not about hitting who's farther away for Vayne. It's about dropping aggro while you tumble backwards. You get your thing, they redo aggro, and then your Vayne's kind of tumbling all over the place.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting for me. I think that will be like visually really cool. I think there's maybe a world where this is very overpowered.
Yeah.
But I like that she's a sniper that you don't necessarily want in the back in your back line. And if she is that, then changes need to happen because I don't think that's the thematics they're going for her. 200 extra attack damage on a tumbled attack every third attack is a lot.
200%.
Yeah, and so like basically you put the new IE on her, which is going to be nuts.
Yeah.
You put a Rage Blade on her and something like a red buff to do even more percent damage. She's going to be shredding those tanks.
Yeah.
So because they're going to drop aggro on her when she tumbles because she turns invisible. So they'll turn to somebody else and then have to walk back to Vayne in order to get her. So it's going to be up to our Star Guardians and Mages, I think, to really deal with the Vayne.
Yeah.
That's why I'm really excited about it is the tumbling backwards and her positioning, because we're finally, I think, using that mid board a little bit more intentionally with characters like Vayne.
Yep. And I think again, her ability and how she functions as a carry feels a lot like Kaisa from set 1. Like maybe she's not doing the same amount of damage because she's not a 5 cost, but like when she goes into her mode or whatever, right? Like she's got 10 seconds of like she's doing a lot of damage every third attack. Put a Rage Blade on it. It's like, all right, she's proccing all the time. And like they mentioned here, you might not actually need to run a Trap Claw or a Guardian Angel like you would want to on a lot of carries because her ability essentially protects her in the way that an item might protect her. So
she's got more vacancy.
Yeah,
right?
So it's like
just on her own, which is really cool.
Yeah, 3 attack item Vayne here might just be bonkers in a way that
I'd probably build some good attack speed on her so she can get to those third attacks quicker.
Yeah, exactly. But Rage Blade, Giant Slayer, like IE or something is probably or Death Blade.
Because you can put her in a chrono comp early on with Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Right? Get the sniper buff that way. Right? Like that I am gonna do some serious Vayne experimenting when she comes out. Like I am so excited. Like the highest rank I ever got was when Rangers were good. Right? Like it's so funny. I hate spellcasters, but I love auto attacking carries so much.
Yep.
Like in everything that I ever play, right? And that like fills me with glee because Vayne's thematic is all about tumbling, becoming invisible, and outplaying your opponent. And to get that in TFT is going to be really, really fun. Hopefully it's not broken. I have a feeling it could be to start.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Well, that's the beauty is that this is PvE, so they can all this is subject to change, and the numbers are easily tweakable. So take that with a grain of salt. And I think another thing to note about, or one last thing to note about Vayne that I think is going to be sort of a theme of some of these new champions is she is a carry 3-star, or sorry, 3 cost, which was a big thing in set 2 and even in set 1, maybe not as much as set 1. Set 2 definitely with, your Nocturnes and your Azirs, but wasn't as big of a thing in the current set 3. Now with this mid set, I think we're getting some 3 cost carries again.
I think the game was in a good spot when those 3 cost carries were really popular in set 2.
Kindred is the other one I'm thinking of. Yep.
Ashe. No, she was 4, but still.
Ashe was 4, yeah, but yeah, and this new Ashe in set 3 is like not really a carry. Ezreal, not really carry. So I think we're gonna see some new 3 cost carries. But let's talk about a 2 cost. You want to take this one, Boop?
Let's do it. We got Zed coming up, Rebel Infiltrator. Thank God again for the Infiltrator on that one. Content for the week, passive. Every third attack, Zed deals 20, 40, 80 bonus magic damage and steals 25, 40, 80% of the current attack damage. So
there's a new ability.
Zed brings some unique capabilities to the Rebel lineup. As an Infiltrator, he can jump away from a Rebel clump and offer a way for them to spread out. Thank God. In addition, he serves as a great anti-carry who can steal away all of that carefully stacked AD. Great for getting in those pesky snipers' faces. Again, no mana here. It just happens. So every third attack, it just happens.
Yeah. So is it just me? This seems broken. He's stealing
25%. It's one person, so it's not very different than like pulling like a carry with Blitzcrank.
That's true.
I think it's weaker than that.
I guess that's true. And like you would rather just like you take away 100% of their attack damage if you kill them, right? So I guess that makes sense. But what if? I know you can't make him a blaster. You could put runins on him and steal multiple things, right? But
plus he's getting Infiltrator buff, which is attack speed.
True.
And it's like a constant debuff as opposed to like an ability attack, which I think is a little bit more counterable. Because the Zed is kind of just like a time limit, right? I don't think the Zed's necessarily trying to get kills, but is trying to help your team survive a little longer from the carry on the other side, a la Kale.
That's true. Although not a la Kale in this instance because
but same thing, right? It's more about the debuff than anything else.
Sure.
And I think there's counterplay on how to get him off of somebody else, right? Because if he jumps on Vayne, for example, then she's just going to tumble away and she'll get her stuff back. Right. So
she doesn't get it. I guess she would get it back in the form of the bonus damage, but like the debuff doesn't go away, right?
It's not that clear.
I mean, based on what it says, it wouldn't go away, but we don't know. But yeah, definitely interesting. I think, I mean, if it doesn't go away and it stacks, I'm assuming it stacks, right, of target's current attack damage.
This is a good question for Mort.
Yeah. I based on how it reads, it doesn't go away and it stacks. So like Zed should never lose an auto attacking like 1-on-1, right? Like it's 3 attacks off. And like the other thing, like you said, it's not about damage. Like in a way, the more damage you stack on Zed, the more you kind of reduce the effectiveness of his ability because if he's just killing him, it doesn't matter. So you can put your damage on other units and just put attack speed on Zed so that he's triggering that as much as possible. And even though he doesn't kill, he can take someone out of the fight and eventually kill them or help kill them. So very interesting. I'm wondering if something like if you throw a Runins on him and then like a Rage Blade and 2 Runins and a Rage Blade, that all of a sudden he's attacking 3 different units.
You're going to want to put those on your Jinx though.
Not me. Nice jinx. It's got minus all this attack damage. I don't know. That's the dream I want to live is double
So
runes.
I also think snipers are going to be really strong on this new patch.
Mhm.
So just in general, I think that's why they even say it here. Great for
Yeah.
getting in those pesky snipers' faces.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a thing that we're all going to have to think about
Mhm.
in terms of sniping.
Yep. Okay. Next one here is Riven, a tier 4 Chrono Blade Master. Riven's ability is Energy Slash. Riven dashes and shields herself for 300, 450, 900, then slashes forward and deals 100, 150, 450 magic damage. Every third cast, Riven leaps into the air and launches a wave of energy that does 400, 600, 1800 magic damage. Blade Masters have all been pretty similar and have all required similar items, crit, and attack speed, but that's about to change. Riven loves AP items that give her a bigger shield and help her deal massive damage if she can get that third cast off. She even uses Luden's Well and can boost your Chrono builds with Twisted Fate and Sorcerer. So it doesn't say in these notes, but if I recall correctly from the video, she's got like a ridiculously low.
I think it's like 30.
It's
or
something
like 25
really
or something
low.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So Seraphs.
well,
so this is what they were
yeah.
talking about in terms of building her AP. I don't know if that's necessarily the best. I think there is a world where building her as a tank is actually pretty nice, right? So instead of getting a bunch of damage at once, you just get more casts.
Well, increasing her AP also increases her tankiness and damage.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true, but the way that shields and HP, we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I'm
someone
sure there's
will
a lot of
figure it out.
numbers to crunch on whether which one is better.
Right. But it is.
But yeah, I like AP items going on AD characters, right? I like the fact that you build Rabadons on Darius right now, and you can on Irelia too, right? And that you can go in on IE or Rabadons, right? Based on like how the game is going, and those kinds of choices are what TFT needs, and I like it. So big pass. I think it's so funny because while it has the most text, I actually think it has the simplest to understand kind of effect on the game. Riven does.
I think
because again, Chrono Blade Master, I think, is just like a simple thing to understand.
The only thing that's even weird about it at all is that the third cast is where you get this extra like wave. I mean, she seems like she's going to be really cool and impactful. I mean, she's a tier 4, which is good. It's nice to have a nice big splashy tier 4 champion. So
yeah, and not Wukong.
Yeah,
he's going to be a little
boring.
bit better. Like he's probably going to be better to start at tier 4 too. But this also gives Chrono an easier out to get to there. I think it's turning to 2468. Is that one of the ones that is changing? We'll get there,
so. Yeah,
but
we'll get there eventually.
But yeah. I think because Chrono is also going through a little bit of a nerf on 10-11, so we'll see how all that matters once the patch comes up. I believe it's on the PBE, so I think you guys can play it right now. But the biggest thing here is: do you go in with shielding? Do you go in with auto attack damage because she is a Blade Master, if you so choose? Right, because we've never really had this kind of character, and while it might be fun to put AP items on her, we still don't know if it's the best. Because you know how many times have been like, oh my god, if Kaisa has AP items and she ults, this is back in set 1 into the back line, her shield is enormous.
Yep, I remember.
Right, like yeah, so 2 points. Just I'm not really trying to take anything away from the dev team.
Right.
I'm just trying to feel better about myself because I'm inherently a very sad individual. So that's where that's coming from.
Well, Boop, we'll make you happy here because you get to talk about the brand new synergy called Battlecast.
All right, so Battlecast, it's new and even more. With that, we're introducing 3 new traits and a total of 11 2 whole fingers worth of champions. All right, Battlecast.
Oh, okay. 2 whole fingers, like a 1 and a 1. I get it now.
Battlecast champions, upon dealing or taking 10 instances of damage, trigger a bonus effect based on their current health. If they're above half health, they deal 75, 150, 225 magic damage to the nearest enemy. If they're below half health, they heal instead. So the champions, tier 1 is Alawi. Tier 2 is Nocturne. Welcome back, Papa.
Hey, hey, Bucko, I'm back. I'm back.
I
Shout out
gotta
to
do their
Sphinx.
classes. Alawi's a tier 1 brawler, so she's replacing Cho'Gath in that way. Nocturne is tier 2 infiltrator. Kog'Maw is a tier 2 blaster. Cassiopeia is a tier 3 mystic. Interesting. Victor is a tier 4 sorcerer, and Urgot is a tier 5 protector. So here's how they work.
Not Star
Battlecast are
Guardian
strong
Urgot.
champions. Missed opportunity. Battlecasts are strong champions who start to heal after taking a beating. This added toughness, in addition to their ability to deal extra damage, allows them to dish it out just as well as they can take it, depending on the situation. At a 2-4-6 split, there is a flexible trait that can fit into many different comps. Several Battlecasts also have unique capabilities. Kog'Maw and Victor do % health damage. Cassiopeia wrecks shields, and Urgot can obliterate literally anything. So let's read this part. How it works. We won't go into like their theory crafting here.
You guys can read it. We'll you guys have seen the notes. You guys can read their all those notes. But yeah, I mean, this is an interesting they don't go into the abilities and everything of these again. You can watch Mort's video or whatever, and we'll go over them once they actually release the notes for the champions. But this is an interesting trait because it's kind of like it almost kind of feels the same way that it feels similar to like what we were talking about with Valkyrie, where it's like, yes, you get this thing, but it just kind of happens, and it's just like you're either doing more damage or healing. Okay.
Our next trait is a lot more like that than this one. So
yes, very much like that.
The difference between Battlecast and I think that one is I think itemization really, really matters.
True.
When it comes to this, right? So if you're wanting extra damage, right, then you're going to want them to be above half health most of the time, right? So you're probably building Warmogs and red buffs and, things that give you health. But if you want them to heal instead, and maybe that's how you do it, like I think Kog'Maw is a really good example of someone you actually want to keep below half health. You're going to itemize a little differently. I think Battlecast has more itemization interactivity. It's not like, again, the most interactive, but I do think there's more to this than our next section, which is Astro. So why don't we actually talk about all of them at once, and we can just kind of,
So yeah, Astro, like you said, very simple. It's a 3 trait. There's 4 total champions, and the trait says reduce your Astro champ's mana costs by 30. We have Nautilus as a tier 2 Vanguard. We've got Bard as a tier 3 Mystic. Gnar is returning as a tier 4 Brawler, and the Mad Lads, they did it. Teemo is a tier 4 Sniper.
They could not have made that more annoying. Anyway, I cannot wait until Teemo's like actual like stats come out, because I wonder if those Yasuo Rakan changes had something to do with this as well. Because like maybe they were working on Teemo already and then added like the Hex type of situation.
Almost certainly. I mean, we know what he does based on Mort's video. Like he throws out mushrooms. Like that's what he does. He throws out 3 mushrooms.
And if you put Vayne and Teemo together, and since Vayne moves, she can actually draw people to Teemo's mushrooms. It works so well.
That's true. And she's going to be Also, it's a good counter against Vayne, because if she's just jumping around, she's going to run into more mushrooms.
Exactly.
So they say Astro Champs are much more out there. They're astronauts. And each one brings something different to the battlefield. Nautilus stuns the enemy's front line. Gnar returns from the launch set with this giant team shove. Yes. And Teemo places powerful satellites on the board and can do tons of magic damage. Perhaps the most out there of the bunch is Bard. He's relatively weak in a straight up fight, but he has a unique and powerful ability that creates, you guessed it, meeps. They can be sold for 1 XP each, allowing you to level up just a little bit quicker than your opponents.
All right,
what?
The last one is Paragon.
What?
We'll get there.
Okay.
Paragon is the last new trait, and this is kind of like the ASOL versus like singed type of situation.
Yeah.
Your team's basic attacks are converted to magic damage. Champion is Janna, who's also going to be a Star Guardian. So Janna comes to the aid of her fellow Star Guardians as a new legendary champion, wielding a powerful spell that knocks enemies up and boosts allies' attack speed. Using Janna's unique trait, you can convert your team to do mostly magic damage, which can be useful if you're struggling against Vanguard. So the thing about Janna that's really, really interesting is if you find yourself this is exciting because we'll talk about meeps in a second, but because we'll wrap this up really quickly with Janna. Is I like a game where, especially if you're in like the last four, right? And there is a little bit of, okay, I know I'm facing this person next, right? Changing out certain characters based on matchup, right? Instead of being like, okay, this is my comp, this is who I have.
Yeah.
Right? Giving an option to take out maybe a Star Guardian Mystic like Soraka and putting in, the Paragon instead. Or switching out, maybe you've got your auto attacking Star Guardian comp here, because there are some good auto attackers on Star Guardians. Like Ari's got a pretty good attack speed, so like you could potentially be pushing more damage that way. Or you can, if there are Vanguards, you could put a Paragon in with your snipers, and that way they get the damage going in a little bit easier. You might be getting less damage in terms of per attack, but more is going to be going through.
Right.
If because there are more Vanguards, so it might be a thing.
Yeah.
Those are the two uses that I've thought of in my mind, and those seem to be the simplest of the two uses. I'm sure this can be really crazy, but there was something that I said a while ago, where it's just like, wouldn't it be cool if one of the galaxies was everyone's AP and AD switched? And here we are.
They just made it a champion. Yep, that's 4
again.
points
I'm
for
hyper depressed, and I need this. I'm sorry, more.
He needs every point.
Yeah, it's the only points I'm getting right now. So,
yeah, I think Janna's a really interesting one. Again, she's a 5 cost, another Star Guardian, which is awesome. I think her, if I recall correctly, part of her actual like passive ability, not the trait, like Janna's actual passive ability, like makes your Star Guardians do true damage or something. I don't remember. So I think she's going to really enable Star Guardians in a lot of ways, but she seems really interesting. Is going to, again, like you said, is one of the first times that a unit can come in like and be specifically good. Yeah, come in for the pinch hitter.
Yeah, and I think that's cool.
Very
and fine
cool
to have in the game, right? And
I think it's really
that's
cool.
Just like, I think that's like a level up type of situation, right? It might not work the best with Janna, but I love the fact that because I love this team in that way, right? I love the fact that they're thinking about it.
Yep.
Right? Like, I don't need the perfect solution right now, but we'll see if this works.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and if it's fun. And the fact that they're thinking about these kinds of things. And yeah, that's exciting. But let's talk about meeps real quick, because
yeah,
that's crazy.
I am. My initial gut feeling is that they're broken. It's I guess it's kind of like Pirates or Space Pirates in that, like, you're trading your onboard damage for a later game advantage, and like Pirates and Space Pirates have been at varying levels of playability. But like whenever there's something that can generate a resource that you're not normally able to get from the battle, my eyebrow is raised.
Yeah. It comes kind of like with Void, right?
Yeah.
It's very similar. So in Overwatch, the two of us have Overwatch background.
Yes.
It's kind of like when one team has Supercharger, which is when your whole team gets 25% extra damage, and like just the other team doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. Like your Supercharger has one of the highest team fight win rates in all of Overwatch.
Yeah.
Right. Just because it just gives you more stats. Right. And this is kind of that.
Yep.
1 XP is. Someone smarter than me would need to figure out exactly how much gold 1 XP is worth.
Right.
And how often these meeps come out. That's really, really important.
I mean,
this is going to be a tough balance thing. I'm really interested to see what Nautilus is going to do. I wonder if it's going to be his old ult, but since they do mention here that they're all out there, so I wonder what it's going to be.
I think it's kind of because they're astronauts.
Well,
Get it? Out there in space. You don't get it. No, I see what you're saying. I do think, I mean, Gnar is a little bit out there in that he transforms. Teemo is going to be spitting out mushrooms. What? Oh, Bard. I'm calling him Meepo because that's a character in Dota, but
we're all calling him Brad anyway. That's Bard is Brad.
it's funny because there's a Magic player that's named Brad, but everyone calls him Bard. Shout outs to actually I'm not giving shout outs to Bard Narson. Everyone knows who he is. But yeah, it's really interesting. I think he is a 3 cost, right? Yeah, he's a 3 cost. He's gonna be super weak. So but the thing is, if you get an early Bard, he is gonna propel you super far. And he's 1 unit, right? You don't need Pirates is a 2-unit commitment. Space Pirates is a 2-unit commitment. And Space Pirates, you need to kill units. So if you're weak, you're actually not getting anything. You're just getting a shot at getting something. It's unless his mana cost is super, super high,
it will be.
It certainly will. It should be probably, right?
But big up by having Brad, right? Because it's not just going to be free, so there's going to be some give and take there. But
yeah,
man, 1 XP is a lot. Just full XP.
Yeah, and it creates a meep on your bench. So that's also another bench space is all of a sudden a even bigger resource or an even more important resource.
That's another thing I hope we kind of push into, because I was recently casting some Hearthstone, and there are a couple decks now where you kind of you can only have 10 cards in your hand, and sometimes you develop a ton of cards.
Yeah.
And it's about making sure you always have room to draw one, and that's part of the game. And I think we could do that here too.
Yeah. I wonder if you can actually play the meeps in your comp. Are they can you actually put them in? Are they just really bad?
More.
Can you level up the meeps?
Meeps are so cute. By the way, they give Poros a run for their money.
Ooh, maybe we'll see a Meep Little Legend. But
I bet they're tasty.
I bet Meeps are delicious, even though I don't know what they are. I'll eat anything, as you can see. But that's the general overview of the new champs here and new synergies. Again, once we get the official notes and all the rundowns of the champions and stats and whatnot, we'll give more of an in-depth look. But there's your high level, which is what we got, of course, in the dev drop. So there are some other changes that I am going to run through relatively quickly, and then we'll talk about them in general.
Why don't we... I think we can wait till next week on this.
Okay.
Because I really, really want to spend 45 minutes on the ASOL change.
Okay. Well,
because I'm upset about it. If you read it, you'll understand.
Yeah, it is. You thought if you hated original demons from set 1, boy, are you gonna hate ASOL.
And he is on the weaker side, but I think let's talk about traits as in a grand scheme of the game as a deep dive next week. I'd love to do that.
I like it. So
okay, cool.
If you guys,
we can talk about the items though. We should talk about the items.
Okay, let's talk about items because items are changing. So, Infinity Edge is getting rework. It now sets the holder's critical strike chance to 100%, and it also does less bonus damage. I think it went from 100% increase to 20. It's something the item is different now. It is massively different. You're now always critting, but you're doing less of a bonus when you do crit. RFC is going back to what it was in set 1. In addition to the extra range, you can't miss. So that is a set 1 callback. And then Demolitionist Charge, gone, is now replaced with Battlecast Armor, which grants the wearer the Battlecast trait. And I skipped one here. Seraph's Embrace, gone, is now replaced by Blue Buff, which now, after each spell cast, the holder's mana is set to 20, which sounds
so much healthier.
Yes, which sounds like Seraph's, except you can't stack it now. But you could, it won't do anything.
Just so much healthier. So much healthier in terms of how this works, I think. It's not going to be as effective.
Well, it's the same if there's only one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was another item change that's not on here. There definitely was, but it's not listed on here, so I'm not going to go over it. We'll talk about more additions or changes as they come, but yeah, the blue buff, I have mixed feelings on it because one, I really like the thought of like, okay, well, I can do something super broken if I get 6 tiers and I just make 3 Seraph's Embraces and just go off and it just cast. Like the infinite cast Sona, while, I mean, the mana printer version was like kind of lame and enabled like things that are too strong. Like before the Chalice was out, like it was cool to like just infinite cast Sona, and like it wasn't really that good. But like it was cool. It was like bling, 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 and like heal. It was cool. So that's gone, which on the one hand makes me a little bit sad, but on the other hand makes me happy because now it's like now you can.
This is so much healthier, Blev.
It is,
right?
but
like
like
machine gun Ziggs isn't like fun
right,
for other people.
Right. You can now make champions with 40 or 60 mana and like not be like, well, if they get 3 Seraphs, the game is broken or something like that. Now it's like, yeah, they can be good and you can give them 1 Seraphs and that's fine. Or 1 blue buff now and that's going to be fine, but it's not going to be broken. So that it actually opens up the design space a lot for low mana cost champions.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
So if you ask any of the Hearthstone devs what card is the one that they regret making the most, it is a 1-cost 1/1 with charge called Stone Tusk Boar. Right? And basically that card apparently has blocked them from designing hundreds of other cards. And I think items like Seraphs are exactly like that too. All right, galaxies. No new galaxies in 10-12, but we're removing Lilac, which a lot of people will be happy about.
Not me.
I liked it. I didn't care about grabbing Soraka first. I thought it was hilarious. But I don't care about winning in TFT as much as I do in other games.
True. I also kind of wanted to see Lilac Galaxy with the new 4 costs, but that's fine. Maybe it'll come back later.
Starting in 10-13, we'll be adding and removing 1 galaxy each patch for the remainder of the galaxy set. So that enables them to not have to like keep thinking of new galaxies, right? Then we can start recycling, which is cool. And then we'll get like packages that we like.
Yeah, I mean, I think they might still be adding new galaxies. They just
it's not like a blanket statement, but I think the idea here is that like say Lilac, Littler Legends, and Treasure Trove are gone this week.
Right.
Yeah. They could just add one of those back instead of having to come up with a new galaxy every patch.
Yep.
Or change and adjust the current galaxies that we have.
Yep. Okay, and then the last things here. Actually, we should probably save these because I think those are
these are for next week because these are deep
dive.
diveable. Yeah, especially the Nika's help change. If you guys want to read up on that before next week.
I mean, I think all 3 of these other points are all deep diveable. So we will be deep diving all of them as well as any other new stuff that we get next week.
Next week's title is going to be called Skill Expression, and then we'll talk about that because of some of these changes.
Skill Expression : a game without mana. Asol, the champ. Hyphen Boop called it the downfall. Little Legends podcast.
Yeah. I need points. I need points.
That's going to be the end of this week's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It was it feels, even though it's not a full new set, like I think this is like the perfect amount of new stuff where this feels like a new set. Like, and even like, as weird as it is, the taking away of stuff really does add to it of like, this feels like a new set. It's not just like, we tacked on a bunch of extra stuff. It's like we're taking stuff away. We're making big changes, even though like the core might still be there. We're taking a bunch away. We're adding a bunch in, and it feels like a very good spot. Like this feels like a new set to me, which is very fun.
Love it.
So that's gonna be it for this episode, guys. Boop. Where can people find you on the internet when we're not here?
Boobosaurus Rex on Twitter.
Yes. You can find me as well as Boop at discord.me/LegendsPodcast. You can also find me at _Blevins on Twitter, where Boop and I are both always doing all sorts of stuff. So make sure to follow our Twitters and check us out there as well as in the Discord. But that is going to be it for this episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. For Boop, I'm Blevins, and we will be back next week to talk about more Teamfight Tactics here on Little Legends Podcast.